Good evening, everyone, and thank you once again for joining Enlightenment through Meditation or Self Awareness session at DKWS, and would like to thank all of you who have taken the time to sit and listen carefully the session and be able to take in what is being said, because sometimes the nature speaks through someone. Nature is very quiet, divine is quiet, but divine doesn't speak through a message, and the message comes in a certain way and shape and form. It doesn't mean if the speaker is way too qualified or not qualified or knows or not know, but if the message has to get to us, it will get to us. So thank you so much for taking the time, and I'm also thankful to all those souls who come to our place and sometimes may not be able to make it, but connected from themselves within. Because this creation, this divine is such that there is no provision made by the divine to go somewhere. And the depth of this sentence itself is pretty deep, because if it was not meant to be, then why we were giving the legs, why we were giving the mouth, why we were given the ears, if divine did not make the provision. But it is the level of awareness. As it grows more and more, the more can be seen, visualized, understood at the level of heart. And that's how it works. So as you all know that we had been covering the sessions about law of action and reaction in all these sessions in the past. And now we are going to move into somewhat question and answers, and we do get requests about specific questions someone may have, or some specific topics that someone would like to get to hear about. So today we will be covering the topic happiness. How can we be happy? And with that comes acceptance. Because when we get into acceptance, happiness automatically comes. It's not that we have to go look for it and find it. It is the inner change from struggling to acceptance, fighting versus receiving. And acceptance means also surrenderance, because acceptance without saying anything means surrenderance. So if you look at an example of a slave, in past times we used to get slaves, and if you ask the slave, is he in surrenderance? The answer would go yes and no. Because of having no choice, it's surrenderance, because nothing can be done. So at heart or at the level of mind, there is too much struggle, right? Because I can't do anything. But because I can't do anything, I need to surrender and therefore get whatever I can get. That's not the surrenderance that is looked for when we go into the path of self-awareness. Self-awareness is a feeling, it's a vibration. It's a something within us that can be expressed only and felt only. If you eat a chocolate, only you know the taste of the chocolate. And however much you express, based on the level you are standing, you can express. The other person, if really wants to enjoy the chocolate, has to literally eat it. So going back to the slave, that is really not the type of surrenderance when we go into self-awareness. Acceptance and surrenderance. And is it possible to really surrender or accept everything when we don't like it to get happiness? So again, any subject in self-awareness, because it comes from divine, It is beyond words, it's beyond description. And it kind of changes on the level of awareness a person is standing. But in many scriptures and in many places, almost in all religions, it is described that unless you become like a child, not today's child, today's child is too demanding, but a child, very small child, who's not quite mentally developed. When we tell the child we are going for shopping, they are ready to go for shopping. We tell them we are going to play, they are ready to play. We tell them we need to do this and they are willing to play. So their mind is not quite as developed as an adult has it. So when the inside of us becomes like a child, beyond evaluations, judgments, likes, dislikes, good, bad, lip service, all these things, when we get above and beyond, or you say it dies all off, we get into acceptance. And in acceptance, it is said that to divine, give your body to divine, give your mind to divine, and give your intellect to divine. So basically, when you have given everything, you are left with what? Nothing. When you are left with nothing, you have become nothing. And when all of us get into that state of being nothing, then generally the 5 main problems that we all have, that is greed, lust, vanity, attachment, attraction, and vanity, all that, they automatically go away because we don't exist anymore. If we don't exist anymore, there is no commotion, there is no negative force that is fighting with divine. So what do we become? If we are not fighting, we are becoming the divine. And then the divine starts to rule because we have lost our existence. So acceptance is not an easy thing at the level of mind, and we all know that. I want to buy a car. I have only, for example, $10,000 to buy a car, and I like the car. I saw in the ad it was 10,000, but by the time I got there, the car is now 12,000. And I don't have 12,000, I only have 10,000. Now it's not matching with what I want, what I prepared for, how do I wanted to get it, how I wanted to show it off, how I wanted to have the luxury of the car. There was so much involved with just buying that car, which got all smashed down to nothing within a second. How can I like it? Now in this particular example, the self-awareness comes into play. If I am more connected to myself, I may look at it totally different. I may think it's not about the time for me to get the car. Maybe if I had gotten the car, I could have run into some trouble. Maybe there is this, maybe there, but this still falls into justifying. And in self-awareness or in divine, even that justification doesn't work. It becomes like, if that didn't happen, wonderful. It didn't mean to happen. We all know the story of the fox who wanted to get the sweet grapes high above on the fence. And fox tried to get it and get it and get it and couldn't get it. And afterward the fox said, what the heck, they were sour. That's not surrenderance. The fox didn't get the grapes, all right, and walked away from grapes, all right. But the feeling inside is not of surrenderance, not of acceptance. So how do we change from struggle at the level of mind that I want it, I didn't get it, why didn't I get it, why my neighbor got it, why my friend got it, and I am not capable. What does it mean? And think about this when we go through these questions and answers, how much turbulence we make for ourselves. But at the same time, if when we develop into our own self and we merge into the divine, every action that comes or the message that comes, we receive it that it is coming for us. So what we are doing, rather than being fish in the bowl, we come out and we look ourselves. We see ourselves. Where are we heading? What role this could have it played? Maybe it is for betterment. Maybe it is not. But should we go inside us and always evaluate us and check us? Is it for our benefit? Is it not for our benefit? Because if we continually keep saying, is it for my benefit? That means I exist. And I only exist at the level of mind, because we all know that when we come, we will go. We all know that. And logically we also know that we brought a body with us, but we cannot take our body with us. And if we look deeper into it, into this statement, we will realize in the example of that car was the luxury for the body. If we look at our breath, which is the reason for our existence, right? If the breath is coming and going, we are existing. And breath has no structure. Breath cannot sit in the car or not sit in the car, right? It's only the body that can be enjoyed, that can feel good, that can do all that. But breath is indifferent, sits or doesn't sit in the car. As we grow in the awareness, we find out that getting that or not getting that is not making a difference to us. Who is us? That charge, that's consciousness that is giving life to this body. So as the awareness grows into higher horizons, we start looking into these things a little differently, and we start to realize what is exactly good for us, not necessarily good for our body. And that is how once we start separating these two, we start to realize that we are a little happier, because we realize that we are more focused on us. We are not so focused on our bodies. And then little by little, we start taking us, the essence within this body, a little bit higher and a little bit higher, and the body starts to become a little bit lower priority for us. That change though comes from within us. We cannot push that change, because if we are pushing that change that it's okay, then we are being like that fox. And if we are not mentally happy, we can never get happy. It's just not meant that way. Once you are happy means everything that we wanted, and feel like that. If you really wanted to give something to someone and you did, it's an action. You're not gonna generally go back and say, hey, give this back to me, if you gave it in happiness. And then you will realize that afterwards, whenever you feel about it, that you gave something to somebody out of your heart, you would always feel good. Sometimes you may have a very luxurious thing in your possession, which gave you momentarily happiness for 1 day, 10 days, 1 month, 1 year, but because it is a material, after a while, it doesn't last forever. And we lose that happiness. Mind wants something else. But again, to get to this happiness within us, our awareness starts to help us into those virtuous actions that can bring us happiness for a long time. That happiness kind of goes hand in hand into more acceptance into divine, how it draws us, how it guides us, and from within us we develop, you may call them receptors. Receptor is a scientific term, but we develop the receptor, the divine comes, sits on it, and it guides us. It says, go this way, do this way. And the more we relate to it, the better we get. And that is what it is. The more acceptance, in more surrenderance. And the surrenderance comes to that divine in respect and in love. When we love someone, we do lots of things without questioning. Even if we may not like it, we do. So as our awareness grows, we develop the love and respect for divine. And as it guides us and makes us to learn, we get more in acceptance, and we realize as we move on to this path that we get more and more happy by the time as we learn more, as we get to realize more, as we get to understand it more, because the divine's job is to make us understand. Everybody walks through a different path, always. And the reason divine has given us body, mind, and intellect to work in this world, there is no question about that, and nothing changes about that. But what changes is our inside, how we look at that. You see? So there is a difference. Once the inside changes, we still make the moves, almost the same moves, but it is, we don't have to justify to anyone. We need to justify to ourselves that we understood. We understood the path of divine, the guidelines of divine, and based on that we are making the moves, and those moves, are they making us happy, becomes the most important thing. If we keep on looking outside with our radar and see my status is this and what difference it is make to the other person, we are not in acceptance, we are not in surrenderance, and therefore we cannot acquire happiness. It is always within ourselves. And then the question comes, can we become awareness, can we become very high in awareness in one day? No. It's a process. Like a child cannot become adult in a day. That's how it goes. But once the heart opens and everything we start to notice as a direction, as a message, as we receive it, we start to see the light. And with that understanding, with the light of understanding, when we move, our steps start to go towards the happiness, always the happiness that we are looking for. All of us, because divine is happy. You will never see divine, creating problems. It's only the human mind, because there is confusion. So I hope there was some understanding about the acceptance or surrenderance, moving into happiness when we follow the path of truth, which comes by meditating, by doing those acts into the truth to ourselves. And that is the purpose of all these sessions. As divine is big and beyond words, these sessions are very small and we can barely touch the subject. But stay tuned. We will be talking more about these subjects as we go along. Thank you so much for joining. And as I always say, I would appreciate if all of you can share these sessions with your friends and relatives. You can always leave your comments, your suggestions, your additions to Ustream or YouTube or our website, drkors.com, kors.com, and then youtube.com/drkors, or you can come on Facebook, and that is facebook.com/drkors. Follow us on Twitter. Please spread the path of truth. Spread the path of learning, spread the path of divine, because in turn, even they are little steps, it does bring us to happiness because we all remember happiness is not too far. I love you all and thank you so much for joining today.